Tune into Nice Radio every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. for A View from the Outside, hosted by Brereton Horne. A View from the Outside takes a look at key issues affecting St Vincent and the Grenadines and gives a global perspective on how these issues are viewed. Host Brereton Horne will examine a variety of topics to enlighten, stimulate debate, and explore solutions. Hear the facts, hear the real-life stories, hear A View from the Outside. Join Brereton Horne at 7:30 a.m. every Saturday on Nice Radio for A View from the Outside.
This society needs a spectacle. It might help us to see some need.
On A View from the Outside this week being the 5th of February 2022, we look at disrespect, with the view being that far too often the citizens of St Vincent and the Grenadines are forced to endure disrespect from a regime that professes to love the Vincentian people. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines disrespect as low regard or esteem for someone or something, or lack of respect. And the Collins Dictionary states that if someone shows disrespect, they speak or behave in a way that shows lack of respect for a person, law, or custom. These definitions tell us that to disrespect is to show little or no regard for a person or group of people. To disrespect is to hold a person or group of people in low esteem. To disrespect is to show a complete lack of respect for a person or group of people. To disrespect is to show contempt for a person, a group of people, and the laws and custom of the country. In line with those definitions, and with the plethora of examples which abound, we on A View from the Outside have chosen to look at this topic today. The most recent of those examples of disrespect is revealed in a recent video which is circulated on social media. In that Kenton Chance of Eyewitness News video, a farmer of North Leeward can be heard expressing his disappointment and disgust regarding what he said is the disrespect which the regime has shown to the farmers of Richmond in the North Leeward constituency, and by extension to the people of St Vincent and the Grenadines. The video revealed that up to 100 acres of prime agricultural lands in the picturesque Richmond area currently under cultivation were taken away from farmers without their knowledge and leased for a period of 30 years to a stone quarry mining company from St. Lucia. Some of the farmers have been occupying and farming those lands for decades. The farmer bemoaned the fact that the company moved in without their knowledge and started the excavation, and in the process destroyed some of their crops in its wake. The farmer emphasized that prior to the company moving in and starting the excavation, and in the process destroying their crops, there was no consultation with them, the farmers. No consultation with the members of the regime and the farmers. No consultation with the company and the farmers. No consultation in respect of relocation and or compensation for their crops. The farmer bemoaned the lack of any such consultation and stressed the disrespect shown to the farmers of the area. Since the exposure and revelations in that video, members of the regime have seemingly embarked on a damage control exercise and have held a meeting with the farmers. It is worth noting that such meeting in which they said, that's the regime, that they were having consultation with the farmers, that the meeting took place after the lands were taken away and crops being destroyed. Some of that meeting was videoed and shown live on social media. During that meeting, it transpired that the disrespect continued. A minister of the regime was exposed and challenged for stating that there was prior consultation with the farmers, when in fact no such consultation ever took place. The farmers in that area are now left with the grave uncertainty and at the behest of the regime. Many of them, with their independence removed, are now left to exist and live in hope of a pittance from the regime. That situation in North Leeward is just another in the catalogue of examples of disrespect shown to Vincentians, and of how the patrimony of future generations of the country is being surrendered to others in the guise of investments. Just a few examples of this include Canawan, Buckerment, Otley Hall, and there are many more. Let us now look at some other examples of what happened over the years. The situation involving Bigger Bigs must never be forgotten in any debate or discussion of disrespect to Vincentians. As it transpired, the regime callously and wickedly destroyed his multi-million-dollar business, and in the process put over 60 employees and their families on the breadline. Since then, more than a decade now, they have spitefully and blatantly refused to compensate him for his enormous loss. At different times during that debacle, Bigger Bigs was treated with disrespect, so much so that on one occasion he was beaten by supporters of the regime in the presence of one of the government ministers in order to try to gain entry to his land. On another occasion, he was actually arrested on his own land and taken away to the police station. Dr. Wayne Murray, his wife Simone Murray, and their family also experienced the callousness and disrespect of the regime when their land was purported to be compulsorily acquired by the regime. Their land was confiscated from them without any prior consultation regarding compensation. The farmers of the country continued to be faced with the disrespect of the regime. They, the farmers, have been systematically sapped of their independence, where they have been starved of farming support programs and markets for their crops. The regime has been accused of being deliberately negligent in providing no support for the treatment of citrus plants and other crop infestation. Thus, the farmers' plants and crops are destroyed. Many of those who remain farmers lack support from the regime and suffer severely because of predial larceny, where their crops and livestock are stolen unconscionably. Many of the farmers have been reduced to rely on the regime for its pittance in the form of poor relief, their independence completely sapped away from them. Teachers are treated with disrespect. They were laughed at and told that their numbers are not sufficient to affect the outcome of an election. Many were recently fired from their jobs simply for exercising their constitutional right when they refused to take the COVID-19 vaccine. police officers are treated with disrespect. They were told that they suck up to politicians in the hope of getting favors from them. Many policemen and women were fired from their jobs recently for having refused to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Other public servants are also treated with disrespect and suffer a similar fate to the police and teachers who have been fired from their jobs for having exercised their constitutional right and having refused to take the COVID-19 vaccine. This disrespect is even evident in the parliament of the country. Opposition parliamentarians are constantly treated with disrespect. The ignominy of some of them being tossed out of the House of Parliament and down the steps of the Parliament must never be forgotten. Ordinary citizens are also treated with disrespect in the House of Parliament, where the most debasing things have been said about them. One constituent was described as indigent and poor and unable to buy her own lunch, simply because she stood on the front line protesting the infringement of the human rights of citizens in the country and protesting what has been widely believed to be a rigged or stolen election. Victims of sexual assaults are treated with disrespect and named and shamed on the airwaves and other platforms operated by the regime, their agents and enablers. The country was treated with disrespect when what has been described as a rape rally was held in support of the alleged perpetrator after a female police officer alleged that she was raped and sexually assaulted by the head of the regime while she was on duty protecting him and his family. Where is Yogi Farrell? She was treated inhumanely and with disrespect when she was committed to a mental institution by the magistrate without any evidence of mental illness being presented to the court. Her story is one which will remain a stain on the perpetrators of her degrading and inhumane treatment and will remain a stain on the country of St Vincent and the Grenadines. Citizens generally are treated with disrespect by the regime's continuous refusal to provide and maintain basic health care in the country. This disrespect is even more evident when members of the regime fly out at will for medical treatment overseas, even for a bruise to the scalp, while ordinary citizens are left with no choice but to accept the substandard facilities in the country. It is clear that many in St Vincent and the Grenadines continue to be subjected to the insults and the degrading treatment of the regime. We, on A View from the Outside, now ask the questions. When will it end? When will enough be enough? When will the disrespect cease? The answer surely lies in the hands and in the minds of the people. Vincentians, the answers lie in your hands. Vincentians, part of that answer, or the answers, must be that we must first respect ourselves. Because until we start respecting ourselves, the disrespect by the regime will continue. In this month, Black History Month, we, on A View from the Outside, encourage you all Vincentians, especially those at home, to muster the resolve and do what is necessary and right to stop the disrespect and get the respect which everyone deserves. And as you do that, as we all do that, let us bear in mind the words of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who said, and I quote, "If we as a people realize the greatness from which we came, we would be less likely to disrespect ourselves." Unquote. Until next week, Justin and all of the listeners, this is Brereton Horne with a view from the outside, with a reminder to send your feedback as usual to aviewfromtheoutside@hotmail.com. We also invite you to visit and like our Facebook page at A View from the Outside. And we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at JMB Horne. Have a pleasant Saturday, Justin and all. Have a wonderful Sunday and have a productive week ahead as we realize our greatness and stop accepting disrespect.